Tonight, on Legend versus Logic, we take a look at a legend and a phenomenon that has captivated believers and inspired such movies as Loch Ness Terror, The Water Horse, Secrets of the Loch, and Scooby-Doo and the Loch Ness Monster. Some have said it's a myth. Others believe it to be an ancient dinosaur or a sea serpent. That's right. Tonight, we will be diving into the depths of Loch Ness itself. First brought to the world's attention in 1993, the Loch Ness Monster, or Nessie, as it is most commonly known today, has become one of Scotland's most notorious legends. Seen here, the first reported photo of Nessie was published on April 21st, 1934. Hugh Gray was the photographer. He sent the photo off later to be published in the local paper, although later it was revealed to be a hoax. The earliest recorded account of Nessie goes back hundreds of years, when Irish monk St. Columba was said to have driven out a large serpent-like creature, stopping it from attacking a local man. Ever since then, sightings after sightings have taken place, growing more and more popular in recent years. More recently, a man in 2014 was searching around his hometown using a satellite mapping system, when suddenly he stumbled upon an image in the loch that he said resembled the Loch Ness Monster itself. There are many possible explanations for this beast, saying it could be ripples from a seal or a log, or saying that it could be just the wake from a boat. Well, later, the photo was actually enhanced, turned out just to be a boat in the wake of a ship passing by. To help us try to better understand this phenomenon, we spoke with a local scientific expert about how important it is to look at the facts surrounding this claim.
Trying to justify the scientific criteria to evaluate a paranormal claim, a person must first answer the questions for analyzing paranormal claims. What are these questions, you ask, and why are they important? Well, to begin with, you must ask, what exactly is the paranormal claim? If you do not ask this question, then how will you know what you are trying to prove or disprove? If you don't have a paranormal claim, then you don't have a purpose for experimenting. You must ask yourself, what is the context of the claim? Is an explanation provided? These are important questions to ask because you want to know if your paranormal claim applies Occam's razor and or it evokes unknown forces and argument fallacies. You need to know all the known details of the claim so that while experimenting, there will be no unexpected happenings. After asking the initial two questions, you must then ask, are alternative explanations conceivable? When asking this question, the stake of your experiment is at risk. The importance of this question is that if another explanation can be reached, your experiment can either be a waste of time because your claim has been debunked, or you could continue in your experiment so that you can find the truth for yourself and come up with a new further research explanation. Finally, you must ask yourself, is the claim testable? Has the claim been tested? It is important to ask these questions because if you cannot test your claim, then you cannot experiment to prove, disprove whether the claim is factual or not. Also, while asking these questions, you also need to know how reliable and valid the measures in the experiment are, as well as if all the available evidence is offered, and if so, discover if it is anecdotal.
Now that we have looked at some of the questions for analyzing paranormal claims and why they are important, we'd like to speak to a Loch Ness Monster expert to analyze how the Loch Ness Monster phenomenon can be explained using these criteria. So what exactly is the claim that we are looking at here?
The Loch Ness Monster phenomenon revolves around the assumption that an ancient dinosaur, sea serpent, or aquatic creature of some sort inhabits Loch Ness, Scotland's most famous loch.
What is the context of the claim that the people make about the Loch Ness Monster?
Claims about the Loch Ness Monster generally fall under two different contexts. The first context refers to an ancient Scottish folklore where people believe that the Loch Ness Monster is a water horse that has magical powers and evil intentions. Some stories claim that the Loch Ness Monster lured small children into the water by offering them rides on its backs and then dragged them into their water deaths. The earliest written reference in this context dates back to AD 565, where St. Columba claimed to see a large beast about to attack a swimmer. So he raised his hand and commanded the monster to go back with all speed. The monster complied and the swimmer was saved. The second context was the most Nessie claims fall under the 20th century eyewitness sensation. The media uproar surrounding the Loch Ness Monster started in April of 1993, when a local couple spotted an enormous animal rolling and plunging on the surface. A reporter at the Inverness Courier wrote an article using the word monster to describe the animal. Since then, there have been more than 4,000 eyewitness accounts of large creatures with one or more humps protruding above the surface of the loch. And these aren't just drunken Scotsmen. Most eyewitnesses were sober, level-headed people, including lawyers and priests, teachers and scientists, even a Nobel Prize winner.
Regarding the claims in the second context, have any of these claims been tested and quality evidence offered?
There have been many notable expeditions launched to try and uncover the mystery of the Loch Ness Monster. I'll share a few with you. Starting in 1958 and spanning a decade, 4 separate expeditions were launched. Using sonar, which is a military technology that uses sound to search the underwater environment. These expeditions were launched by respected sources, BBC, Oxford, Cambridge, and the University of Birmingham. In each case, sonar operators detected large, moving underwater objects that could not be explained. There was an expedition in 1970, but it wasn't until 5 years later that they actually had found a picture of an unidentified object.
So based on these expeditions and the evidence gathered, is it a reasonable explanation provided, and are alternative explanations conceivable?
One of the only explanations provided stemmed from the evidence gathered in the 1975 underwater photograph captured in combination with side-scan sonar. Scientist Sir Peter Scott, one of Britain's most respected naturalists, concluded that Nessie was a plesiosaur, an ancient reptile thought to have gone extinct with the dinosaurs over 65 million years ago. However, the idea was too far-fetched for any professional zoologist to take seriously. All other findings of large moving underwater objects were inconclusive and unexplainable. Scientifically speaking, we have no solid evidence to prove or disprove the existence of the Loch Ness Monster.
So in your scientific opinion, is there really enough evidence to claim that there is an actual monster living in Loch Ness?
According to science, I'm going to have to say no.
Okay, thank you so much for talking with us today.
No, thank you.
Even though the Loch Ness Monster's description varies from one account to the next, there has been much skepticism in its existence since it was first brought to the world's attention in 1933. Evidence to support Nessie's existence is lacking, as well as unscientific, since it is based more so on personal accounts rather than facts or research, with most of the photographic and satellite images having been disputed. Even though the hunt for proof of the Loch Ness Monster's existence may be over, there are still people who believe. This is where the legend versus logic comes into play. Dr. Luigi Picardi, an Italian geologist, developed a probable theory that links seismic activity with the unusual water movements in the loch. The Loch Ness is positioned over the Great Glen Fault System, which is a very large and very still active fault. According to Dr. Picardi, when there is seismic activity at the bottom of the loch, it can create a commotion on the water's surface. Along the fault line, there can be gas emissions, which can create bubbles on the water's surface as well. You see, Dr. Picardi's theory is supported to a minor degree by a correlation between tectonic motion and Nessie's reported sightings. So, are the Loch Ness Monster sightings just disruptions in the water caused by increased activity of the fault? Geological forces alone cannot simply explain the mystery of the Loch Ness Monster. However, when people choose to believe in myths out of wishful thinking, well, they sometimes can assign meaning when faced with the things that may be debatable. Thank you for joining us tonight. Please tune in next time.